Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Santa Monica, California, United States. Blessed planet Earth, here May 27th, 2021. Today's talk, life is meditation. The little things within the whole. Life is meditation, the little things within the whole. I hope you're well wherever you may be sitting, standing, moving, lying down. Honor to have you in my life here temporarily. I hope that you're well, breathing well. Meditation, I would say, without a doubt, the most important word I have ever encountered in my life. It is meant and continues to mean an evolving experience of engaging being, body and mind. Engaging body and mind meditatively, with awareness, with mindfulness, to see it, to feel it, to courageously abide in knowing its truth, the truth, meditation as the taste, the experience, the courage to see things truthfully, realistically. And from that mindful discernment, have the courage, the intelligence to enter it so fully that I act on behalf of reality, the truth. Meditation as a way of life, the small things, the little things within the whole. So thank you for joining me today, wherever you may be, a simple talk. Many of you know that I've been going on a very frequent basis to hospitals here in Los Angeles, to clinics, even to the emergency ward. And in this process, the last 6 weeks, my meditation has been compelled, if you will, to engage the foreign, the unexpected. I've met a lot of nurses and doctors and staff, and quite frankly, all of them strangers. And here we are together looking through high medical technology and the wisdom dance of highly trained nurses, doctors, staff, through these highly specialized systems of magnification, if you will. And you really see through an electrocardiogram, a CT scan, X-rays, all the ways in which they illuminate the interior of the body. I never really knew the body at such a magnified level. And it brought up the issue of today's talk, the little things. Meditation as the experience of nuance. Yeah, that's it, nuance. Of subtlety, magnification, intimacy, a poetic, an aesthetic, a sensitivity, a tenderness, a sensibility, a quietude that equally is alive with intimate listening. And meditation, this word, again, in a very spontaneous exploration today with you and with myself, the intimate vocation of making purpose and meaning and presence a priority over stuff, things, inventions, mirages, illusions, distortions, phantasms, hallucinations, things that we pursue with radical desire, fear, and grasping that are non-existent. Phantasms in the sky of consciousness projected onto the infinite scope of life. And either we live in the opening to realistic present time engagement with truth as it's felt as an embodied experience, as a cognitive experience, their interrelatedness. We can easily live a life in the dreamscape of a hallucination. The Aristotelian looking at the cave and seeing the dance and the parade, the charade of shadow, taking shadow to be real. Of course, meditation is turning towards the reality. And there in the light, we see the spectrum, the gradation of color, reality. Through the filter of mind, we begin to cathexis from phantasm, hallucination, and the world of fictitious narratives that, in short, I think you know as I know, don't lead towards anything edifying. A ghost-like existence. I ask myself right now, I ask you, are you meditating? Or are you going to meditate later today? Meditation as life, rather than a practice in a location, in a posture. And that too, of course, but why negate meditation as a way of breathing into the reality of being, seeing it, feeling it, knowing it, discerning the wisdom and the truth of an action, and acting on behalf of that insight in that moment to more skillfully navigate the streams of experience that stream out and stream in simultaneously through thought and speech and action. So pause here with me, if you will. Meditation is inhabiting experience realistically, truthfully, with integrity, and we could call those different ways rightly. Right mindfulness, right effort, right concentration, right meditation. I hope you're well today, wherever you may be. No hurry, the little things. Little things. It took a long time to see the wisdom of slowing down. I don't mean to be contrived here to animate my ideas as they are shared, but I'm trying to hold myself accountable. Yep, meditation as self-responsibility, self-accountability. The evolution, the deliberate, engaged evolution of one's integrity. The deliberate inhabiting the growth of dignity, stature, self-respect. I ask myself, I feel myself, how well, Alan, are you inhabiting your body, your mind, your thought, your communication, your listening with self-honesty, self-respect. Other words that describe meditation as life: self-honesty, deliberate engagement with conviction of self-accountability that isn't quite exactly the truth of something. That was a mindful moment of meditation in intimate action that held myself in accountability and self-honesty and molded the thought before I spoke into a more coherent shape that reflected the very transparent virtue of dignity and honesty. That level of accountability, call it conscience, meditation as a way of life, the felt experiential study of the spectrum of states of mind. Everything that I've said are words. They come from a deep, deliberate engagement over many decades of painting with the poetry, the mindful, holistic, intimate, turning from the shadow in the cave to the light, to the gradation, to the spectrum of color, the spectrum of consciousness. Meditation is the felt experiential study of the spectrum, the specific gradation colors, the wavelengths, if you will, of mind. That invisible, discernible, transparent, yet palpable, innate fabric generated from body, brain, into present time beingness right now, you and me in consciousness together. Meditation is how well do I intelligently, mindfully, spiritually, intelligently occupy consciousness, body, thought, speech, and action wisely. As a writer, a poet, a lover, a mother, a goddess, a tantrika, a gardener, a hummingbird, an ant, an animal, a vibratory wave of love shared through communication with one's friend, parent, child, lover. Those different formations come to us through the senses, born from intention. Through mind, through the senses, we think, speak, and act. Meditation is the trans-religious, trans-postural, trans-training, the occupation of what I would call Dharma literacy, the poetic of learning how to inhabit deliberate states of consciousness with purpose and meaning and poise at times and clumsiness at other times and accountability as much as humanly possible and flaw a good portion of the time, but yet you're engaged with ethical, spiritual, mindful courage, Alan, to discern, is that the color I wish to create with? Is that love or is that fear? Is that kindness or is that attachment? Is that need or is that freedom? All these various words that we go to psychotherapists with, we go to plant medicine gurus, that we go around the world traversing the journey, looking into the eyes of the God and the devil, trying to determine what's the truth of my own existence at the end of a day, the month, the year, a life. We all perish into the great, great charnel ground of eternity. How well did we live? Meditation is the deliberate intention to increase the pixelation of quality. How often we eat a meal, how often we cook a meal, how often we clean having eaten a good meal. And it all happened all too quickly. You want to repeat it. And we do repeat it. And some people do it well, some people forget it. Some people put way out on the horizon of their hope, the desired star of their dream. I want to live a life of love not yet met. And of course, you can have that vocation, but there's lots of things between now and the valley and the peak. Meditation is the process. Cliched as that may sound, the journey of 1,000 miles always begins and ends and begins and never stops and never begins and never ends with the air on our body, the earth beneath our feet, the light, the dark. Call it the poetic of existence that deals equally with the convulsions outside, genocide, ethnic cleansing, the end of the planet, the end of the cosmos, galactic extinction, the simultaneity of us in safety and the multitudes in denigration. Meditation is the courage, and I use the word for myself here, the radical courage to enter dimensionality like Newton did with that brilliant pyramid that Pink Floyd popularized and brought his team of brothers and sisters and dropped that metaphorical acid in the tea and said, "Wake up, my friends, look at this," and whipped out his little prism, and suddenly, out of nowhere, except the light refracted on the wall, the spectrum of the Buddha mind, color, gradation. It isn't just a figure, an icon. There is these multiplicities of waves and particles that can be discerned. Meditation is the intimate opening of the pixelation of waves and particles that can be discerned. It's the study of principles, the felt experiential study of values. Red is never just red, is it? You can mix any color of everything in that to make any color of everything that ever lived and ever will live, if you know what you want and you're willing to experiment and take risk. For me, meditation allows me to come out of the conformity of pretense and conditioned joys and happiness and break the mold of the familiar, crack the stale air in the back of the cave, and you turn around. It's not just looking at the light, it's walking out of the darkness, right? Meditation for me is the deliberate act of oxygenating, coming out of the hollow, coming out of the tunnel, coming out of the cave, coming out, oxygenating, brightening. What does the word liberating mean? It's the physics of overcoming density and gravity. Gravity's cool. At the same time, who doesn't want to free flow out of the habits of an addiction? Oh my God. Meditation for me in my humble life has been the most deliberate, skillful acuity to enter the wisdom of the addiction. I use the word wisdom of the addiction. Addiction isn't a cruelty. It isn't an evil. It is an unthinkable, tenacious mind that wants to know the truth of something, and it's trying its desperate best. You're never in recovery. You're in the wisdom of discovery. You've got to see that, Mr. Clements, and understand that everything you've been willing to experiment with, the wisdom of discovery over the horror of recovery. I'm not going to walk into the future backwards. I want to lead boldly with mistakes made good on the promise of intelligent relaxation. Meditation is relaxing that which contracts, and the open-hearted handedness, the open-mindedness. You ever been in an argument? How many? How beautiful it is to have someone that says, pause, chill, man, chill, woman. This is the wrong road to go. You're right, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong. Together we're both right and wrong. And let's do something higher than right and wrong. Let's chill and take it higher. Meditation is dynamic in its ability to understand the physics of conflict and resolve them based upon the study of consciousness. What is mindful intelligence? What is spiritual intelligence? What is emotional intelligence? What is psychological intelligence? What is environmental intelligence? What is cosmological, numismatic, infinite, samsaric intelligence? I don't know. Giving it the best shot that I've got, meditation is the vehicle, the trans-capsule, the astronautic, the felt farmer, the Sherpa on the edge of the Himalayan mountains called existence, willing to feel, learn, grow, release from self-generated contraction, overcoming the gravitational force of greed, anger, and delusion, walking in the radiance of an oxygenated freedom born from your own deliberate, mindful engagement. I see you, I feel you, I know the truth of what I'm seeing and feeling, and I am going to have the courage to act based on what I'm seeing and feeling. Seeing the truth, feeling the truth, knowing the truth, acting on behalf of the truth, meditation, seeing, feeling, knowing, acting, the courage to repeat intimately without the boredom of training and practice. Yes, you can go down that road, but let's put center stage on everything we do, right? Yes, these are the moments of my life. It's a spoken word, sonic, outrageous rave and scream at both the Buddha and the devil within the Buddha's transcendent heart. Yes, I want to be in love. I want to avoid fear and pain. Everything you hope and everything you desire is made good on the promise of understanding, Mr. Clements, the power, the transformational power of meditation. How would you describe it? Transformational power of meditation. The good, the true, and the beautiful. We get to learn how to breathe these states of mind. SOMs, SOCs, states of consciousness. The artistry of interiority. Mindfulness is the wisdom that takes the hand of the brush and puts it right into the color of dignity. And no matter what has gone down, think of that monk and think of those nuns in Vietnam and Tibet, in the Middle East and Africa, all around the world that we never ever hear about, immolating themselves in stature, in dignity, to rise the luminosity. I've come out of the cave of my own apathy, and I want to shine the light of conscience so that you can see something beyond your own apathy, beyond your own fear. To me, meditation is the greatest act of conscience. It's activism made good on the promise of integrity, of dignity, of freedom in action. The little things. Here for the last year, writing this book, Extinction X-Rated, meditating, making a life out of meditation, the little things. Try to avoid shoes, try to avoid clothing. Definitely try to avoid noise and habit, predictable conversations, nuance. Newton throwing that prism up, putting some acid in the tea of your own mind. Pixelate, illuminate, sensitize. I know when I was about 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, the times when I would experiment with my few friends with the psychedelic. We'd always do it because we were still at home with parents. We'd do it outside. I lived in a beach community. And there we were on acid. No phones, no headphones. Although we loved music, we loved poetry, we loved philosophy, we loved art. We loved surfing, we loved sex, we loved thinking, we loved sports. We loved it. Our lives were about love then. And there was this experimentation with the psychedelic, and it illuminated. Remember those illuminations that we've had? Illuminations. Yes, it created a bit of awe and wonderment, a mysticism, made good on the promise of a simple molecule that I couldn't even spell. And all of a sudden, just like that, it illuminated. It made the moon more bright, more full. It made my mind appreciate light, gradation, and color when I painted and wrote and listened to my lover in my poems. It provided nuance, subtlety. The kiss became something infinite rather than just yet another kiss. Sexuality became intimate, not just another moment of intercourse. Drinking something became, oh my God, You got an OMG out of it rather than just satiating thirst. Meditation is the genome, the molecule of the goddess. Trans-psychedelic. The ultimate organic experience within the horror of samsara that transforms everything horrible out of the damn thing within our own limited sphere of engagement. The world may burn, the house may come down, but I refuse to let my heart burn with it, right? Meditation. SOMs. Control over states of mind. That pixelation when I was young, how often we'd run into people down at the beach community in the boardwalk who were drinkers, smokers. And all of a sudden we'd be in our kind of heightened state of poetic. And you could feel the energy of the drinker. No offense to the drinker. And the smoker. No offense to the smoker. But pollution, density, contraction. And we weren't judging specifically the mind state of those who were contaminating themselves and the world and us too, but it felt so back of the cave, shadowed like. Meditation is, wow, I don't belong, okay? It's not just a peaceful journey, we know that, but meditation is, oh my God, I have found how to sensitize my inner being, my body, my diet, my mind, what I choose to listen to, feel, touch, look at, taste, smell, and feel if I have those choices intact. I want to know the Rumi-esque, right? Nuances of things. Or be alone. That radical sense of meditative discernment is so wickedly rad that you can do that. You can be empowered through meditation. You can be empowered through everything, but meditation, again, is the artistry of knowing states of consciousness, the deliberate, intelligent literacy of understanding the mind on the terms of reality, the truthfulness of a state of mind. That is white, that is black, that is red, that is green, that is yellow. You mix these, this is what you get. Gradation, spectrum, prism. The Buddha mind is illuminated in our own consciousness, the poetic of those colors. Studying nuance. Painting in real time through love, touch, food, drink. Subtlety. Are you with me? Nuance. Intimacy, quietude, poetic. Yes, we go crazy at times. Wildly crazy to see the innovation of spontaneity dancing on that floor without ground. Free-falling, floating, all dimensions simultaneously, entering the deep emptiness of fullness. Whatever you want to do in the spontaneity of your own spoken word, you get to liberate, 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 free and liberate that too. The liberation of freedom. Meditation at its soul is the liberation of an ongoing freedom beyond disease and old age and death. I don't belong to those cults, nor do you. We're mystical creatures, right? You're with me? I know you're with me. Sister, brother, dance in the holiness of a shared hymn. Meditation, the vocation of consciously engaging present time phenomena. It's not one-dimensional. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, feeling, yes. Mindfulness is a whole-lism. It is like entering like a full-bodied orgasm without the treachery of ending or beginning, and equally rapturous in its quietude. You can control its intensity. Mind control in the most positive sense of the word. Pause here and get practical, Alan. I won't say this gentleman was a friend of mine, but I met him, and he was one of the most radical human beings I have ever met. And many of you know him, and I think it's worthy to bring his name up. And a few issues about this gentleman, especially in light of Burma today, undergoing this incredible satanic occupation by a military gone mad and denigrating the people. Within that world, there are heroines and heroes, many who have died, many imprisoned at this very moment. Daw Aung San Suu Kyi is one of them. U Win Tin is another. U Win Myint is another. U Tin U was a co-founder of the National League for Democracy, along with Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and U Tin U and a number of other people. That Ming Online in the satanic terrorist organization that he runs, called MASAC, is choosing to dissolve and desecrate. But it's a people's party. You'll never kill it. Freedom will never die. U Win Tin, I had the blessings to meet with him before he died. And he's in my books that were produced and co-authored by my genius friend, Fergus Harlow, and I did a long-form set of interviews with U Win Tin, and they're on video as well. I pray that these videos get made into a documentary film. If you're a producer out there, if you're Mr. and Mrs. Netflix, you've got a budget, we've got 250 hours of priceless video footage, never been seen. And now that Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and the people of Burma are being persecuted and vindicated from the horrible propaganda when it went down the last 3 years, she was choosing to not vilify, not demonize, not to use violence, and not to use hate rhetoric and to seek vilification. No, she sought reconciliation even with her enemy. The men in the institution right now who want to persecute her behind a military tribunal and put her away for the rest of her life? No. Well, U Win Tin, he spent 20 plus years in solitary confinement. Pause. Just hang. Imagine you and I have been taken away and we're placed in solitary confinement. It's truly unimaginable. Truly unimaginable. It's one thing to go into a 10-day retreat and decathex from the world. It's one thing to come home and there's no groceries in the shelves. It's one thing, but imagine, based upon your ethical courage, your mindful intelligence, your radical willingness to courage, to care about things larger than your own self-interest, that your democracy and their democracy are the same, and you're going to fight for the enemy as you would your lover, your friend, your husband, your brother. That's what these people in Burma are doing. They're fighting for the freedom even of the oppressor. That is so rad. They're bodhisattvic in their civil disobedience movement. Our freedom cannot be complete unless you join the civil disobedience movement. That's why teachers and doctors and nurses are being fired and incarcerated and imprisoned and tortured. The numbers of the terrorist organization are dwindling by the second. These people are super aware. This is meditation and dynamic action. U Win Tin, 20 years in solitary. I met with him in his humble abode. He gave away his home and all of his book contracts to support the families of prisoners of conscience in Myanmar who were still incarcerated. He gave away it all and lived in a very small 10 by 10 open air cottage on a very busy street. Pretty beautiful. We met, we talked. The interviews are in the 4 volumes of Burma's Voices of Freedom, available worldwide, along with 1 whole volume devoted to Daw Aung San Suu Kyi. U Win Tin, paraphrasing, the little things. Here's a man who dropped in to hyper nuance. Where there was no spectrum, he brought the prism, the nuance of gradation of freedom. He said he never, ever lost his relationship to conscience and dignity and his conviction into an unremitting, deepening courage to embody and to oxygenate freedom within solitary confinement, without a bed, without a toilet, without a towel, without toilet paper, without a toothbrush. He didn't even have teeth. They were kicked in and broken in interrogations, unwilling to have them dentally repaired. Every mouth full of food, of wretched levels of food, he ate through a broken mouth of teeth without complaint or victimhood. This is a very heroic mind, to state the least. My point here, among many points that he made, again, I'm paraphrasing this gentleman's words, and I'm adding a lot of my own language to emphasize the point of nuance and conviction into the gradation of a pixelated freedom rather than the fear of confinement, containment, and victimhood. That level of mindful intelligence that becomes so intimate with the little things in the whole. What do you do? What do you do hour after hour? How well can you sit? How well do you move? How well do you listen? How well do you do everything? I want to be among those who really want to do things well, in a nuanced way, in a U-Win Tin way. He described one incident to me of how he's a writer, perhaps the most famous journalist in Burma, and author, how he would take pieces of brick off the wall and just slowly grind them into chalk. And with water, create a type of paste where he would then slowly print on the wall one small element of one small vowel in a word to write a word in a phrase that he would continue as a poem so long as he wasn't caught, and then in his own mind as well. It's so beautiful to imagine taking a little piece of brick out of the wall of conformity and incarceration and defying Orwellianism, defying totalitarianism, keeping freedom alive. Meditation, to me, is keeping freedom alive in my own mind and being, keeping the luminosity of freedom alive in the world. Meditation is the action of freedom. And he would take that brick and just put water and paste and imagine how long it would take to write freedom like that on the wall. That's biblical to me. That is Buddha-esque, Jesus-esque, Christ-like. Talk about an ascension in a prison cell. These are heroic examples of grace and courage under extreme pressure. And I bring this up as I close today. I invite you to invite me, to invite our friends to pull back from the belief of being confined by a pandemic. Back away from the propaganda of self-shame. Come back home into our hearts and withdraw toxic engagement with blame and righteousness, anger, doubt, projections of poverty, confinement, hardship, pain, suffering. Come out of the fear of deprivation, disease, and even death. And I invite you to invite me, to invite our friends. What would we create in the pixelation of our prism, our chalk? What word would we write? How would we breathe into the meaning of our own freedom today? What does freedom mean to you rather than spelling it as we normally would spell it? Where are you in desire of occupying a more liberated sense of being? I invite you to invite me, to invite our friends. May we do everything humanly in our power to keep alive the conscience of our own deliberate engagement to freedom in the littlest of ways in our own heart and mind. And equally, this gentleman, U Win Tin, and the over 5,000 other political prisoners in the gulags in Burma today, and the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands around the world today. These prisoners of conscience, keeping alive freedom against all odds. We in the world, in our homes, in our cars, in our souls, in our minds, may we activate our love of freedom in the littlest of ways and keep the radiance of this freedom alive in the world. I invite you to invite me. Let us turn away from the cave wall of the shadow and walk into the gradation of this incredible spectrum, not of color alone, but the spectrum of light, the light of freedom. Meditation as a way of life, the littlest of things within the whole. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.